Hey guys, welcome to the TV show Life is Success with Traci Lynn. Today my guest I have with me is Bryan Ortiz. He has such an amazing story of how he's come from a catastrophe and worked his way up to having a life that he has today. Bryan's going to share his story with us now. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate, this opportunity just to even be here and actually be doing this, Never did I think I was going to be able to do something like this, to be honest. So.
Yeah. Well, the significance of it is that we are here today in doing your interview at Muscle Beach in California. And Joe Wheatley, as you can see the sign back here, Bryan does bodybuilding competitions. But let's go back and talk about your story before the competitions and what life has been like and what happened for you before your accident.
Before my accident, pretty much was, living a teenage life, going to school, working, hanging out with friends, pretty much the basic stuff, going to, trying to get your career started, after fresh out of high school, you go, to university and, you start working, you start making your own money, start making your own progress, having fun, all that good stuff. But, I think everything comes at a certain point where it kind of just stops for you,
Yeah.
Pretty much everything just goes kind of downhill. Out of nowhere, out of the blue, you kind of just don't expect it. It is something that life kind of just throws at you sometimes, and you just kind of roll with it and just try to make the best of it.
Yeah, so let's go back, Bryan. Let's talk about the day and that you were in a car accident, and tell me from what you can remember, and then, just the following days, weeks, and months after the accident, and how old you were as well.
Well, it happened on June 12, 2011. I was only 20 years old. From what I remember, I was going home. Actually, I had just talked to my mom about 20 minutes before the accident happened. She asked me where I was at and if I was coming home, and I told her, yeah, I'm coming home. I'll be home shortly. But sadly, I did not even show up at my house that day. Pretty much, I was getting to the freeway. And then I noticed that from a distance, this diesel truck coming in, and it's going pretty fast. And I saw that it was swerving lanes, and it was eating the lanes a lot. And I was like, you know what, this is not good. Like, I knew I had a bad feeling already about it. Like, I knew it was bad news just going into it, just looking back at it. And I was just like, something's going to happen. So we end up going into the ramp. And right next to I saw that his car swerved into my lane and just took me out. Hit my side, my car started spinning. Usually people freak out. I try to keep myself together because deep inside I was freaking out, and I was trying to pop into gear, trying to swerve into the lane so I could kind of just kind of swerve into it. But when I did that, he kind of caught me again, and then that's when I hit the dividers and my car just kind of popped up in the air and he just kind of took off. After that, pretty much everything just kind of went downhill for me. The car just started tumbling. It fell off the ramp. The first thing that happened was that my pelvis snapped in half. I felt the pain. My left leg just snapped from the impact due to the fact that it was every time the car would just roll over, it would just hit on the driver's side, and it just kept hitting and hitting. It came to a point where it's like I had so much adrenaline in my body that I don't know how, but I ended up able to taking out my seatbelt and using the momentum of the car, since my car has sunroof. And I noticed that from far away that there was a tree. And then I kind of just threw myself and hoping for the best. And I ended up just splitting myself from my groin to my stomach area. And so I ended up throwing myself and actually went through the sunroof. But sadly, the car caught me, landed on me, and I kind of just passed out.
Wow. Was there a point, your mind seemed so cognitive, even though your body was going through such a traumatic experience. Was there a point where you thought, I'm going to die, I'm not going to make it out of here?
Came to a point where, I was cussing a lot, but due to being professional, I'm not going to say what I was saying. But I was pretty much, I went from, from being a little scared because I knew that, this is the stuff you see like on movies or TV shows, and you're like, wow, like they make it seem so real. And I was actually going through it, so that's one thing that I was like, this is scary, After I passed out on the floor, I woke up and I looked back and I saw my car was folded in half, and then on the tree. So I tried to get up because I totally forgot what would happen. And I was like, oh man, I'm fine. But the first thing I thought was like, man, my mom's gonna kill me. This car is wrecked, But when I tried to get up, I saw that my legs, they were facing one way, the other one's facing the other, and I just fell. So I saw that there was, I would start screaming for help. And of course, nobody's gonna hear me because I'm in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the ditch. And then I army crawled about a mile to find the intersection where the freeways merge, and ended up falling into a ditch. It came to a point where, I still try to go up the hill and I still try to crawl all the way up, but it's like my body was giving up and my mind was still like saying like, you can still do this, you can still do this. Just even being able to do that at that point, it showed that I wanted to live. I wanted to still, But it came to a point where I just couldn't anymore, and I just laid there, and I kind of just knew that it was the end for me at that point.
Did you feel the pain? I mean, I can't even imagine. Was your adrenaline pumping so much, or did you feel the pain? Were you thinking, wow, my legs? I mean, taking a look at your legs and seeing them pointing the opposite direction I can't even imagine what you're going through.
At that point, I started feeling the pain when I kind of just relaxed, when I was on the floor in that ditch. That's when everything just kind of settled in. Just seeing myself so demanded and just so destroyed, and it kind of it was one of those things that kind of just breaks you in half. It breaks your spirit, knowing that I think the scariest thing for me was that I was gonna die alone, that no one was around to actually talk to or even say anything, and stuff like that you see in movies or anything like that. When people die by themselves, it kind of just breaks your heart. And to me, it's like one of those things that at that moment, it kind of just broke me, because I was like, I'm not gonna see my family, I'm not gonna see the people who I hang out with or anything like that anymore. And it's like I'm leaving behind so much, and I didn't get to do what I wanted to do in life. And then to know that that nobody's around to help me, and seeing how broken I am, and blood coming everywhere, and I'm throwing up blood, and it's like, this is it.
Unbelievable. How did you get found? Who came to your rescue, and how did that unfold, and how long after the accident?
It came to a point where I kind of just passed out again, and when I woke up, this police officer had me on. He was kind of holding me, and he asked me what was my name, where did I live, and I told him everything. And that's when I noticed the firefighters, the ambulance and everything. And the first thing they said is like, we got to get this guy to the hospital. And I told them, I was like, hey, can you tell my mom that I'm sorry, that I love her? And he was like, you're gonna do you're gonna tell her, you're gonna, you got this. And I was like, no. And I just smirked at him and kind of just started like going off. Like I could feel my heartbeat, slowing down. I could hear my breathing slowing down, and I could feel that coldness coming in. So I knew I was at my peak. Like I knew that I wasn't gonna make it. And when the firefighters and the paramedics came, the first thing they said is, how do we pick him up? How do we put him in the ambulance? And so they picked me up and they put me in the ambulance. And then just as they took off, I flatlined.
Wow. So what happened when you flatlined? Did they bring you back to life? Did they paddles? I mean, how did you come back? How did you come to?
All I can hear pretty much, I don't know if you guys seen the movie Act of Valor. There's a scene where this guy's just kind of like a first-person view, and he's shooting, and he gets shot, and everything just starts kind of zooming in, and while he's dying, it was kind of like that for me. As soon as just passed away, like all you can hear is just voices. Everything goes black. Your heart, all you hear is your heart just stop beating, your breathing stops going, and you're just like, well, this is it. And then next you know, you feel like this rush of energy, rush of like light, and just all you hear is like your breathing just go up, and then that's when you open your eyes, and then you start seeing everything again. But all you see is like all these people trying to like work on you and trying to put you together, you know, making sure that your heartbeat's on point after you come back. And it's like I really appreciate that they did so much just to try to keep me alive till I got to the hospital.
Yep. So the paramedics and the firemen and everybody that was around were very supportive, and you really felt like, you know, you felt the love coming from them to keep you alive and to motivate you to, you know, to keep fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something that, you know, at that time, you don't think much of it. It's toward, you know, where I'm at right now is kind of you put everything in perspective, and you kind of just think about like everything that, you know, the doctors did, that the firefighter, paramedics, that the, you know, people who actually, instead of just kind of giving up on you, they still tried, you know, to, you know, make you stay alive. So by the time I got to UCI, which was where I was at, I got rushed to the ER. They right away they put me in surgeries. They gave me my 26 blood transfusions. I had over 18 surgeries done, but I was a mess. Pretty much, I was like kind of like Frankenstein. Everybody, you know, trying to put pieces together. You know, I had my lungs collapsed. I had internal bleeding. I had all my ribs broken. I had my heart to the middle of my chest because they moved from its original place. I lost my spleen. I had shattered pelvis, shattered legs. It was just a hot mess. It was something I can never forget.
You know, you spoke of your mom a few times in this, and being a parent myself, you know, I just go to that and think, you know, what was it like the first time that your mom saw you?
To her, it was, she thought I was asleep because I was in coma for 3 months. She thought I was just taking a nap and that I was all right. But in reality, when they told her what happened and how I only had 6% chance of living, I was under respiratory support, it really broke her. And by when I woke up from coma and I saw her, you know, I cried. Like tears came down my eyes because it's like, how do you go from being this strong foundation for her to where it's like, to see her, for her to see you struggle. That's, I think, the hardest thing that I think a mother can see is see their sons where they're pretty at the lowest, and for them to just come up and actually do what you do now. And that's the thing with my mom. Mom's, and she's a single mother, and she's gone through her own hardships too. And to raise 2 boys, and then for that to happen, it was like heartbreaking.
Yeah. What did it feel like? I mean, you come out of a coma, all these injuries, all this, you know, motion, all this healing that your body has to do after 3 months. Do you remember that day when you came to?
Yeah. And a lot of people ask me this, and it's like, oh, well, what happened while you were in coma? Did you go to the other side? And I mean, if this goes, and you could take this however you like, because it depends if you're religious, if you're not. To me, it's like I experienced something that maybe not a lot of people have or will till they get to that, you know, to that stage. But I experienced, you know, something where it's like I came back to life after going through a little journey while I was in coma, and having this lady in a white veil give me water and tell me that everything was going to be okay, and just to drink. And when she gave me that water, I came back. I woke up from coma after 3 months. And it's like, usually people don't even last that long. You know, if they're in vegetative state, they don't have chance to live that long. And for me to experience that, it just gave me a stronger will, stronger faith, because it's like, if I'm still here, it's for a reason. If you allowed me to live, it's for a reason. And the one thing for me was that I just wanted to see my mom's face one more time before, you know, anything happened. And if it was my time, then I would have been okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Was she there when you woke up?
Yeah, she was there. She was by my side, and when they saw that I had signs of life and I actually responded on my own, she just broke down.
What a remarkable story. I mean, you've been through so much. What has it been like through the rehabilitation?
It's been tough. I mean, I've pretty much done anything and tried everything just to get myself back to how I was before. But to be honest, it's like, if you're being realistic, it's not gonna happen. I mean, once you have injuries, you're never going to be 100%, but it doesn't mean you can't give your 120%, in what you do in life. You always got to push hard and push 3 times harder than the person next to you, because you want to show that dedication, you want to show that effort, that you can do what anybody else can do. You can be whoever you want to be. It's like you just got to believe in yourself and have people believe in you, because it's like I was saying a while ago, it's like you want to invest energy in people who give you positive vibes and want you to grow, and that's the people you want to surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And the rehabilitation part is like, it wasn't a piece of cake, it wasn't a cakewalk, but it worked. I'm here doing what what I love, which is working out and fitness industry and trying to motivate and inspire others. So.
And you are doing that, Bryan. Absolutely. I want to talk about, something that we had talked about earlier too, the people that were there for you after the accident. I mean, we really people show up, at the right time, and people show their true colors when, faced with adversity and something like this. How were your friends and the rest of your family members? Were people supportive? Did people fall off by the wayside? What happened?
I lost a lot of friends, I'll say that much. A lot of people kind of just fell off. People that I expected them to be around, they did fall off. There was a couple of few that, stuck around, and I'm very grateful for them. But at the same time, I was in a point in my life where I was kind of depressed. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to have anything to do with them, because I felt like I was vulnerable. I was weak. And for them to see me like that, it's like I felt like there was a way for them to kind of just be like, well, he can't really do much anymore, so we kind of just don't need him. And I felt, neglected. I've had hardships where, when I was in a wheelchair, even if I tried to talk to women, they would say, oh, well, you're not good enough, you can't really do much. Or people, wouldn't even say, hey, let's hang out, because, they had to have that burden. That's how I felt. And at the end of the day, as you go and succeed, like you said, and you start growing slowly, and people start noticing, they want to jump on that wagon because they want to be part of that, because they want to be, oh, well, I was there when he first started, and it's like, no, you weren't, And you're going to have those kind of people, and that's the people you don't want in your life, to be honest.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, we've shared earlier as we've both been through that. And, it really shows up in life through tragedies like this. And, for you, the mental part of the mindset of getting through, the mental rehab must have been harder than the physical rehab, because to put yourself through that and go, hey, I can get through this. I can do this. And then put yourself through to where you are today, to the bodybuilding. So let's talk a little bit about the mindset you had.
The mindset, at first, like I said, it wasn't that great. I just wanted to give up. I thought my world was over. I thought it was the end of it. But it came to a point where it's like I actually sat down and kind of just talked to myself, and I had a talk with God, like I always say. And I was like, give me a sign or guide me, show me that I'm still here for some reason. Like, I need to know. And that's one thing, like we were talking about purpose. I want to know what's my purpose. Even if maybe I don't find it now, or maybe what I'm doing now, motivating, inspiring, that's my purpose, then so be it. But I'm still searching for that purpose. I still want to know why, why. But my mindset wasn't that great at the beginning. It came to a point where I sat and it finally clicked. I've seen, I would watch videos of inspirational people talking, and people who didn't have limbs, who didn't have anything, and they would say, well, you can do this, you can't limit yourself because life is beautiful, life is still out there, life is still going. Are you willing to just sit there and let it go by? To a point where I was like, you know what, I have to change. I don't want to be like this. I was an active person. So even though doctors say, you can never do sports again, you can't do this, you can't do that, I took that can't into I will. Yes. So once I was in a wheelchair, I started going to the gym. I got a gym membership. I started working out, and then I met this guy named Al Cheetah, who guided me into bodybuilding. He's the one who told me you should do Joe Willie shows. But when I first met him, I told him I want to do bodybuilding. He kind of looked at me like everybody else did when I told him, I told people I'm gonna do bodybuilding. I'm gonna be something. I'm gonna create this great physique, and they just laughed. They thought I was just joking. They were just, oh, He's like, you're full of it, you're all this, you're that. And I'm like, just watch me. And next thing you know, 8 months later, I ended up being on stage and against 10, 12 people, and I ended up coming in fifth.
I saw you, and that's where we met at Muscle Beach at a fitness competition last year. And I couldn't believe the story. I couldn't believe it was the same person, because I had heard the story of what you had gone through and where you came from. And then to stand here before me, this guy with the biggest smile on his face, with this incredible physique, but just the element of confidence and everything that you had. And I met you when you were by yourself, and you were standing there. You're in the zone, as we like to call it when you're bodybuilding, and you just, everything about you, there was no I'm a victim, I've been through this, or and nothing like that, and so it takes a lot in a strong person to not have that I'm a victim mentality, because we see it every single day. How did you become that strong young man and say, I'm not going to be a victim?
To be honest, it came to a point where it's like I had so much negativity around me. I had so many people telling me I couldn't do certain things. It's like, women telling me I wasn't good enough. And to be honest, that got to me. Yeah. All of that got to me. And it came to a point where it's like, I got to prove to myself that I still have it. That I got to prove everybody else that I can still do what anybody else can do. And it comes to a point where it's like, you just got to live life to the fullest. Like, it makes you appreciate life a little better. It makes you see things a little better. It makes you see who your true friends are as well. Yeah. It shows you what your true strength, because that kind of tested me to see if I was strong enough to pick myself up and be that game changer. That's what I like to call it. Be different. I wanted to be different. I wanted to come in and show people that even if you have a disability, even if you're, you don't have a leg, you don't have an arm, or, you have this mental disability, you can still be something great. Mm-hmm. And for me to come in, and when I first did my show, and to have people just stand up and give me a standing ovation, and for them to appreciate my physique, that just meant everything to me, like the whole world.
How is it now with women? I mean, and do you have that sense where you're like, yeah, look at me now? Or, I mean, how do you feel? Because, I mean, you're an attractive young man, got a great physique, but a great attitude and a great personality. So how are women with you today?
It's not like that anymore, because I think it's more because of the whole wheelchair thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women, the way I look at it is the way society nowadays. It's like the way they project things. And the way everything is happening, the way social media projects certain things, and you have to look a certain way. I think that involves a lot of influence. Yeah. And the way now it's like, I have people, hey man, I want to be like you, or hey, like, what's up, let's go out or something like that. But to me right now, it's like what's important is I just want to inspire people and motivate, and I really don't care if people like me or don't. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, just to help others that are in my situation, are going through their own journey. And that's my biggest thing. Like, I want to, if it makes a movement, I'm all for it. If it changes people's life and they can say that I was part of that, that's the real goal right there.
I love that. We're going to take a short break, guys, and move to a different location.